Recording. Close. At least I didn't forget, until the end. But the Speaker of the House just signed on as a co-sponsor yesterday, which makes me feel like that's an indication that it will get called for a vote on the House floor, and hopefully will pass and be signed into legislation. And that those two 708 mental health boards in Elgin Township and Dundee Township don't just fund mental health services. They're able to fund mental health, developmental disability, and substance use services for people of those townships. And so between the two of them, if it was levied at the highest rate allowed, which is 0.15% of the assessed real estate value, that would mean between the two of them about $5 million more in the service arena that could help support people who do not have funding awarded to date, like those people that are on the PUNS waiting list, or for services that aren't paid for by the Medicaid waiver that are unallowable in some ways. So it is very beneficial. We receive a lot of that funding throughout Central and Southern Kane County and DeKalb County and McHenry County. This would be a very good benefit to the people of Elgin and Dundee Township. So hopefully we'll see, what happens with that. And let me see, what's the fourth thing that the fourth thing is a source of income bill. Ever since just about as long as I have been in social services, so 20 plus years, advocates have attempted to pass a source of income bill that would make it illegal to discriminate against renters based on where their income comes from. Mm-hmm. So like if their income comes from Social Security disability, or from a VA benefit, or from a retirement fund, or from a rental subsidy, right, that helps pay rent. Landlords can now say, you know what, I don't rent to people that have that type of income, or I don't rent to people who have a rental subsidy, and that's perfectly legal and fine. We are finding here, particularly in Aurora, but across Kane County, that it's become impossible to help our clients that are actively experiencing homelessness and have been awarded an emergency housing voucher, which would help them pay for their rent, to actually find a unit, because the vacancy rate in Kane County is less than 1%, which means there's very few units that turn over. And then when we do find some, the landlord is unwilling to work with a rental subsidy. And so our friends that we are supporting that live outside are still living outside, even though they've been awarded what should be a golden ticket to access housing. So that for the first time ever, that legislation last session passed the House, first time ever, because usually there is opposition from the realtors, who are a pretty strong lobbying group. So it passed the House, it's in the Senate, and it has to pass in this session, or it will die, because the session is 2 years, right? And it will have to start all over again if it does not pass this year, the Senate. So we've been working with a group of people that are trying to encourage our senators to vote yes on that. We have some good support from Senator Castro and Senator Villa in the center of Kane, and I believe Senator Ness is on board in the more Dundee, Carpentersville area. And then we've been trying to get Senator Holmes here in the Aurora area, who has not been too interested in supporting the legislation because she doesn't want landlords to be mad. So, we are keeping an eye on that bill. They've actually come to agreement with the Realtors Association so that the realtors won't actively, they're not in favor of it, but they're not actively, like it's a soft agreement where they're not gonna push against it, right? They're not going to actively send out notices to their membership to, talk to their legislator. They won't say they're in favor, they say they're neutral, right? But they're still, the American Homeowners Association is still against it. So we'll see what happens, but there's been a lot of compromise and taking a lot of language out of the bill to try to get it through this final time. So those are the main things that we're looking at along with just one more thing, which is the request. It's called, what's it called? It's called Going Home Illinois, I think is what they're calling it. And it's the package of proposed housing related items that people would like to see the rest of the ARPA money spent on. So you might have seen today, right, that they had I can't remember which one passed it finally, but both the House and Senate have passed the bill that would spend $2.5 billion of the $3.5 billion that is left on paying down the unemployment debt that we have in our unemployment trust fund. So that leaves a little bit less than $1 million with roundings and everything to go towards using some of that money towards from ARPA, that last bit of it, to ending homelessness, increasing affordable rental housing, first-time home ownership, supporting existing homeowners that are having a challenging time due to the economic downturns, and innovative solutions around land banking and a landlord's incentive fund. So we are, along with every other entity in the world, standing there with our hand out, asking the state if they would support really vulnerable people and people that need that affordable housing with the end of that ARPA funding. You might remember last session, they did commit a lot of money to housing related items. And that money continues to be rolled out, and those application processes are beginning, right, to get that money out from the last fiscal year. And this would just be the end of that stuff. Okay, that was a bunch of stuff. Does anybody have any questions about any of that? No? Okay. I wanted to let you all know that in case you didn't see it in our one of our Friday focuses, we have achieved our 3-year CARF accreditation again, and got really good comments. Was proud of the team because these folks came right as Omicron was just starting to come down. So luckily, we had a lot of the things uploaded, a lot of the documents and pieces that we needed to upload into the system, because this was a virtual visit, right? We had a lot of that stuff done before Omicron started to go up. So we kind of hit it good. And I'm glad that we went ahead and went through with it. It went well, and we had several staff members that were recommended to become CARF surveyors, to be able to go out and do that. And that's always good to have. Right now, Raj Mandrell is our only CARF surveyor left. Wanda was one, and we had another woman who has been gone for a couple of years now. So it was nice that we had at least 4 of our staff, both on the behavioral health and the DD side, that were recommended and approached about being surveyors and are pursuing that, which is good, because, you know, the more that you know it, and it's a community, right, you know, and you learn more when you go and survey other people and see innovative and interesting things that they do. It's just really prestigious to be asked to be a surveyor. So I was proud of everybody, and they did a great job. So wanted to make sure everyone knew about that. And we do have a session that's later on in the year that is going to talk and explain to you all what accreditation means and what all we have to go through to do that. If you've ever wondered, because I'm sure you've heard us talk about it before and wondered, what the heck is all that? We'll be happy to share with you all of that information, along with all of the other places that give us reviews and audits and everything else, visits, anything. I don't know, they all call themselves something different, but so those things are good. We just also finished up our Bureau of Quality Management review 2 weeks ago, and they reviewed community day services, intermittent SILA, 24-hour SILA, home-based adults and home-based children's programs. So all DD programs, and we did very well there as well. Just have a couple of things that were mostly around timing, you know, so if a document is required to be completed within 48 hours of something, you know, and it took 4 days for it to be signed, that's a finding, you know, kind of thing. And we had a couple of those, but I really felt it was more attributable to being in the middle of a pandemic than to a, you know, problem within the organization. And they only found a few of those out of the things that they looked at. So, you know, in general, you know, they felt like things were good. So that's always good to check those off your list as they happen, right? So that was good. Let's see, what else do I have on my list here? Wanted to update you on staffing openings and where we are at. So at one point at the beginning of the year, during the worst of the Omicron outbreak, we had about 150 vacant positions out of 650 positions. That's across the board, all of our programs. We are now somewhere in the neighborhood of about 90. Now that sounds better than it really is. Part of it is that we have gotten rid of or you know, eliminated some positions that might not have been really needed, that were vacant, that we might have been advertising for. And so probably about half of those changes are from that, both in DD and behavioral health. And then the other half is hiring. For the first time in January and February, we hired more people than we lost that month. So that's positive, and we're excited about that. One of the things that we have been able to do, and we've been doing a number of things, trying a bunch of different things, right, in order to get more people in. We've rewritten job postings. We've paid to have postings pop up higher when people search for things within different sites. We've kind of revamped a lot of job descriptions to make them more exciting and descriptive. We have done a lot of special opportunities for training at different times and a lot of different things like that. But one of the things we've also been able to implement since the beginning of January were our sign-on bonuses for new hires. And so all of our positions across all of our counties at a minimum get $1,000 sign-on bonus. Then that's they get that in their paycheck, I believe after their first 30 days, they get that sign-on amount. And then that bonus can get a bit bigger depending on the mental health side. If you are bilingual, it's another $500. If you have a license, it's another $500. If you are working in the field, like you're not just sitting behind a desk and people are coming to you, but you're going out, underneath bridges and all those kind of things, it's another $500. And if the position is not a traditional time, so it's not, it's a 24-hour position, like where you might need to go out at 2 o'clock in the morning or at midnight or 8:30 at night, that'd be another $500. So if you are a unicorn, you can get up to $3,000. Where on average, people are getting about $2,000 on the mental health side, $1,500 to $2,000 as a sign-on bonus. And we are able to pay for those sign-on bonuses in Kane County because we worked for about a year with our fellow advocates in Kane to advocate that the Kane County Board spend some of their ARPA money by supporting not-for-profits in Kane County. And so that is paying for our sign-on bonuses in Kane County at this point. And then we're just covering the cost of those out of other sources for our other counties. We also, with that Kane County ARPA money, are able to pay some retention bonuses for our staff. So I know I've shared before that we have done that before, right? A couple different times, and we've bought out PTO and we've done some other things, but we have announced so far 2 quarterly retention bonus payments. The first one will be in the April 8th payroll for all staff who were hired and or worked through January through March, the first quarter of the calendar year, or the third quarter of the fiscal year at AID. They'll get $250, all staff, in their payroll automatically. And then on July 15th, if you worked April through June, you could have been hired at any time in there and worked through the end of the year or into the quarter, or just work the entire quarter if you have already been here, and you'll get an additional $250 in your July 15th payroll for that quarter. We again are being able to use the Kane County ARPA money for that for Kane County staff, which is the bulk of our staff. It's probably about 70% of our staff. That is good. And then we, of course, are offering that to our entire staff. So out of other sources, including fundraising, et cetera, we are doing that for our other counties as well. Any questions about staffing? No? All right. You guys are being quiet tonight. The next thing is that we are moving forward in purchasing the Aurora Administrative Building, Thompson and Keeler centers. You may recall that we've been talking about this for some time. The Inc. board approached us about purchasing this property many years before I even came here, right? And there's been a lot of ongoing back and forth, but we agreed probably almost a year ago now on a price, and have been awaiting funding from Representative Barbara Hernandez, who had money that was from the capital budget in the state budget in 2020, I think was when the capital budget went through, that would be towards the purchase of this building. And we have the final paperwork in, and it has gone through the first level at DCEO of approval, and it's on its way through the upper ranks for final approval. So you guys are getting this before the board even does. So don't tell on me, Jim Gould. But we have scheduled our closing for the 18th of April, and we will be asking the board, first the finance committee on Monday, and then our full board on April 6th for approval to use money temporarily out of our Fox River Valley Community Foundation Fund to go ahead and pay for the building, because in order to access the money, you have to spend it first and get reimbursed basically, right, from DCEO. So we felt like that was the best course of action to take. And I feel much more confident than I have felt in once it got through that initial processing in DCEO, because we had submitted all that paperwork in August, and finally heard from somebody in the end of January at DCEO who said, "Hi, I'm your new account manager," and started processing that paper. So now that that's through and on through the upper echelons, going through the upper echelons, I feel like it's going to actually come through. I mean, it was pretty positive, but you're never 100% sure till you have the contract in hand. And even then you're like, well, they may pull the rug out from under us, but this seems like a time to move forward. We're paying rent, in these buildings that we're going to buy. So it's kind of stupid to keep paying rent. And we do have the money, in the Fox, in the community foundation of the Fox Valley, that we could readily take out and pay the ink board for this property and get it all signed, sealed, and delivered, and then apply for the funds to purchase from DCEO. So I think, be able to draw down that money. So we're excited about that. We've been working with Cordigan Clark, who is a architectural firm in the Aurora area, but they're actually a national firm, I think, and to review our space and what our space needs are and what our potential plans that we could do with all of our properties that we own, and what makes sense. Do we need to rehab? Do we need to tear down and rebuild? What do we need to do? And so we're working on that, what I've been thinking of as a 3 to 5 year kind of capital plan, what we'll do with all our kind of office properties at this point. So, this is one of the steps in that kind of capital plan, right, is to own these properties. And then we have the land, and could potentially, I'm thinking, probably tear down Keeler Center and potentially rebuild it to have better space for the people that we serve there, because it's not designed for their needs, and also maybe additional space, because we can go up to 3 stories, I believe, is allowable here. So anyway, there's plenty of options, right? So we're moving forward with that. And the final thing is that last year we did reviews of potential pharmacy partners for both our developmental disability and our behavioral health clients. And so we are in process of beginning the change to new pharmacies. We actually chose two different ones, one for developmental disability clients and one for behavioral health. The DD pharmacy will be Kodo Care, and we should be imminently, like in the next week or so, sending out letters to parents, guardians, consumers, and doctors with the information about who the new company is and how all that will happen. We've been doing all the things behind the scenes here to transfer client information and prescription information and insurance information and all those pieces to Kodo Care from Pharmacy Alternatives. We've had been with Pharmacy Alternatives for, I don't know, 10 years, 12 years. And they have begun to improve over the last few months, but we had not been totally happy with some of their service. So that's why we started the review process last year. The official start date for Kodo Care is May 1st, although although May medications may still come from Pharmacy Alternative, depending upon if they get sent out in the end of April or not. So hopefully this will improve access. Kodo Care is actually guarantees 24-hour day service. So like before, if you had, let's say you went to the hospital or the emergency room or to urgent care or something, for a emerging issue at 8 o'clock at night, you couldn't get, a prescription until the next day. It was difficult. If it was on the weekend, it was hard, right? They aren't officially open 24 hours, but they work in tandem with local, like Walgreens or CVS, to get the medication in a timely manner. So we're excited about that. And they are also going to, we hope, be better with our electronic medical medicine. We do what's called QuickMar. You might have heard people talk about, and we have the little scanner, that's supposed to scan medicines and keep track of it all electronically. And it kind of worked about half the time with Pharmacy Alternatives. And we are hoping that it will work all the time with Kodo Care, as they promise us it will. And then on the behavioral health side, we are going with Genoa Healthcare, who is our partner in McHenry County. They're actually co-located with us in McHenry, and it's been very beneficial for the clients to be able to get their medication at the same time that they go to see their counselor or therapist or psychiatrist. Also, that makes the pharmacy a part of the care team, so that if there are side effects or other challenges, there can be direct talking back and forth to the psychiatrist or to the other people that are supporting. It's just really been really helpful to people. So we're excited about that, because they're in process right now of moving into our behavioral health care location in Aurora on Highland Avenue. And that build out is almost complete. They're putting in all the cabinetry this week. And that is again looking like it's going to be a May 1st kickoff. And what we're really working on doing on the behavioral health side is taking our hands, our nurses' hands, and our clinicians' hands off of any medication, and just making sure that it's a pharmacy that is packing out the medications in whatever way the consumer needs it. So if they need it delivered daily, if they need it weekly, if they need it, you know, packed out morning, noon, night, if they, you know, whatever they need, they're able to do. They're also very good at doing direct work with the MCOs and Medicaid in order to ensure people get access to their medication and deal with any kind of, you know, approval issues and those kinds of things. They have also been coming to our client review committees where we review medications and any challenges. So we are excited about that. If we are able to get enough money to build our community mental health center that we have planned in Elgin, they'll also co-locate with us there. So we are very excited about this. They are a closed door pharmacy, so they do not, it's not like Walgreens where they're trying to get people to come in the door all the time, right? It's just intended for the people that are being served at that location, and staff could also use that. In fact, I'm looking forward to it because I'm hoping that I can actually finally get onto medication where I pick it up once a month, like Walgreens promised me, and has never happened once in my life. I know it never works. Anyway, we will see if they can do it, but we're excited about these changes. It'll be big changes, but we're trying to get information out to everyone. And like I said, that mailing, we got the letter from Coda Care with all the information, and we're getting business cards from them that will also be included in those mailings, and we'll be looking at doing a mailing next week. I think we'll also, you know, now that I'm saying this, put it on our website. I'm trying to think of other places that it could go so that people could have access to it in case somebody doesn't get something in the mail, because people's addresses aren't always kept up to date if they move in our systems. Okay. Any questions about pharmacy? You guys sick of listening to my voice? Now it's time for you to talk.
Actually, a question about Total Care, you say it's called? Now that they're not going to be co-located, are they a national firm? I'm just not familiar with them.
No, they're not national. They're actually a family-owned business that is in what county? I think their headquarters is in Will County. Is that what is Joliet in Will County? I think they're in the Joliet area.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But they also have some local areas that process, so like it's close to us. And they currently serve, they've kind of carved out this niche in long-term care and in services. And so I don't know if you've ever, like if you've heard of Cornerstone Services, it's in Joliet. They're a service provider very similar to AID, right? You know, we're about the same size. We both do most of the same kind of work. And they've been their provider for a long time, and they're incredibly happy with them.
Good.
Yeah.
Good to know. So they'll still be doing the pill packs, because, you know, Cliff has gotten very used to doing that.
Yep, they'll do it any way that people want, whatever is the best, you know, whatever is the best setup for, you know, bubble packs. And they can
he's very good at the self-administration that way. So if he doesn't have to change, good.
Yep, nope, it's not, it's all, you know, it's all it might be a different color or something, you know, I mean, like everybody has, seems like has
that he can deal with that.
I mean, I think that there'll be, I really like the founder. They have a really good, you know, like it's a mission driven pharmacy.
Good.
They're
Good.
really, it's their family business that they've done for a long time. Actually, Courtney, our Vice President of Equity and Inclusion, worked with them when she worked in long-term
Oh,
care.
okay.
They provided their long-term care medication at the facility that she, a couple
Okay.
of facilities that she ran. So we have some really good, we did a lot of, we had
Yeah.
interviews that we did and had them all come and present to panels and interviews.
Mhm.
We did, checks of references, from our peers to find out, that use different people to find out, what the issues were and who was best and, what they liked and didn't like and all that. And really, had long-term discussion. And that's why we ended up not going with just one
Mhm.
pharmacy, because we kind of felt like each one had a niche in and better services for
Mhm.
specific, populations, right? So,
Right.
yeah. All right.
Okay.
So speaking about the pharmacy and and we've been thinking about how we communicate, right? I wanted to get some input from you all in regards to communication and what is the best way for you to get communication from AID. I'm sure many of you get our, Friday focus, but I'm thinking more about things like this, right? About changes at AID or, updates or, basic information about stuff happening, on a state level that might affect you, whatever those things are that are kind of not those big picture Friday focus, but that's really geared towards families and guardians and consumers. We just have not been super successful. I mean, in engaging or finding the right way to connect with families and guardians. You see there's only 2, 4, 6, 7 of us on, 8 counting me tonight. We've been trying to get more people to,
NCAA basketball tournaments.
oh, NCAA, that's where everybody's at. That could be, I could very much be, but still, we've never been above much more than 15, 16, and there's easily 200 people that we support on the DD side. I can understand on the behavioral health side because there's usually not as much family involvement there, but just trying to figure out how we might be able to communicate with you about important issues that is not just a mailing, because one, a mailing is expensive, and I feel like oftentimes we get those bounce back, or we get a lot of them. Seems like people move, they don't necessarily tell the cues or other people. It's hard to keep that information updated within our systems. Not everybody does email, and we don't have great email lists either, I don't think. Try to have stuff on the website, but I don't know. I just thought I would ask you all what you think about communication.
I worked
Well,
in
it's
the public schools, and it was an issue there too.
Yeah.
When I think the first year of COVID, the school district that I worked at did a parent university and asked people to come, and I work at family counseling now.
Mm-hmm.
And we there were more service providers presenting information about mental health of kids, which was, mental health is is epidemic.
Right.
There were more service providers in attendance that had agreed to come than parents.
Yeah.
So it just seems like it's
Mhm.
across the board.
Yeah. Well, Lori, it's good that you're recording these. Do you have any sense of how many people watch the recordings later?
You know what, I have to ask Doug, because it shows up in our hits, and I'll have to ask him, but I do know, they're out there and they're underneath. I don't know how easy they are to find. I keep thinking that we need to have a separate tab that's like family
Mhm.
counselor or whatever across the top. I think they've been
Yeah.
resistant design, the web designer, I think, has been resistant to, making any more tabs, but, I can tell him that he has to if we think but I keep thinking that we should do that so that then, it's easier to see the registration is underneath that, underneath the family council, where people can self-sign up, to receive the link and everything.
Yeah.
I've been trying to figure out how to get the reminder to come automatically. I thought that it would do it when I did it on Zoom like that with registration, but I found out that it was only 15 minutes before your meeting that it comes. I was like, it can't be 50. It needs to be a day before, at least,
I
So
got mine a day before.
Yeah, that's because I
So
said,
did, yeah, me too. Me too.
yeah,
And
that's
I got one day, I think, too.
yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
I had to
I mean, I
send it
marked my
though.
calendar, but anyway. Yeah.
Right, I had to remember to send it though. I had to copy all the names out and then forward it and send it. Amy, did you have a suggestion?
Yeah, I was wondering if you would consider maybe doing a private Facebook page for AID guardians or families, because, my sons have Angelman syndrome, which is a rare condition, and we have about, I don't know, like probably 100 different groups that pertain to certain and specific things with literally thousands of parents on these pages, and you get so much information and get it so quickly. And I think that would be hugely beneficial for a number of reasons, not just for our parent meetings, but you might get a whole lot more success with parent input and involvement and ideas and problem solving. Is that something that we could consider?
Oh, yeah, I
Or-
think so. I think that's a good idea.
Possible?
I think that's a good idea.
So we just have to figure out who the admin would be and how you could access,
Yeah.
reaching those people to let them know that that's an option to join.
Right, I'll talk to our web guy who, does our public facing Facebook page and see, because he can probably just set it up for us private and, manage that, and we can just look at how we try to then get people out there so that they can
Right.
request to be members, right?
That would be awesome, because I would love to stay up to date in all the, legislative issues. And it's so hard to do if you can't make a meeting or something, you're completely out of the loop. But that's something that's there and in writing, and you can go back to it and say, how can I be more involved and
Right.
share with other people.
And I know that you can archive it stuff on there, and I know, I'm a member of iPad, and I know that they record a lot of stuff and or will keep conversations and resources in a resource portion of the page, right? So I'm not super good at doing it, but that's why I said maybe Doug could do it for us, because he's younger than me, and he does these things much faster than me. Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Excuse me. Now, would somebody monitor it?
I think it's usually a private page, and you usually set up, you have to have approval to become a member. And then you usually have agreed upon rules, and then the admin will usually, if somebody is posting inappropriately, will usually either, block that thing or take down the post, if it goes against the rules. So I think we'd have to set up what the agreed upon parameters are for discussion, or how we discuss with each other, how we treat each other, right? Kind of things. But yeah, I think that can be done by the admin. Another reason why I don't want it to be me, because I don't have time to make sure everybody's being nice to each other.
That's a really great idea.
I think it's
Because in a District 129 where I worked, you go to any page, depending if it's band or if it's a sport or whatever, a specific thing, you'll have hundreds and hundreds of people, but you have a PTA meeting or a parent university and the physical people aren't there, and it's discouraging, but there are people interested. So that Facebook thing is just, a superb idea. Amy, that's a really, really good idea.
I agree.
I think that's a great idea. I really do, because even if you were like a specific, like people that are on the Scylla, for example, I'm interested in that. Not everybody at AID is a Scylla, person, but you might be able to ask some other Scylla people the specific questions, like about, I don't know, social things or whatever, but
Right.
at least, yeah, you could get a kind of a group interest there. So that's great.
I agree. That we can do. I'll work on that, or I'll have someone work on that. I won't work on it. I'll have someone work on it. I know my limitations. All right. The only other thing I wondered, do enough people text? I mean, like, would you want a text alert if you opted in to receive texts about something important?
Yes, absolutely. And I think most of the, I don't know, at least the Yorkville Guardians would like that. That's, how we communicate.
Yeah, I feel like, that's the one surefire thing to get my attention at this point, because, when you have hundreds of emails, like you can't get drawn to like the most important one easily, but a text, I would say, text me if you need me this moment, right? Because.
Well, yeah, particularly time sensitive stuff. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. That was the only one I thought of. So I'm glad that you thought of the Facebook page, because that's a great idea. All right, let's see. The other thing is that we are in process of working on coming into compliance with the home and community-based settings regulation. And you remember the training that we did on that, I guess it was last year now, at I think that was one of our first meetings, right? After our initial meeting, that we had training on that. So we're in process of doing that. And, a couple of the physical things that have to happen are the issuance of some kind of key or fob or card or touchpad or something, right? For people who want to have that to their home, to the front door of a Scylla, as well as their personal bedroom door, in order to ensure privacy. So we've been, trying to figure out. And of course, we don't get paid any money to do this. So this will cost money, but it will. We don't get paid any money to do it. So we've been trying to figure out, what are the best options. So I feel really reluctant to start handing out physical keys, because I feel like they're just so easy to lose, and then you can't do anything about it because the key is gone. Where if you have something that's electronic, like a fob or a card, you can cut off access to that fob or card, right? By the system that you have that's using it. The only issue is that it's more expensive, right? To be able to get the hardware, for those pieces. So what do you guys think? I mean, like,
instead of a key, can they have face recognition or eye recognition or something? I don't know how much that costs. I know nothing.
They could if we were in a perfect world, but I have to think that would be a little more expensive.
Yeah, I know things are getting,
Yeah,
more common and
Right.
it's getting cheaper and stuff. My thought is if you give keys, now this is just me, not only could they get lost, but unscrupulous people could talk a person into giving, let me have your key. And then they have access.
yeah.
And now we have, predators.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what I'm concerned about with just physically losing them, but also other things that can happen to them. And I just hate the idea of a million keys floating around. It's not like you can change the locks and change all the keys every day, right?
Plus they're hard if you've got clients or do you call them, what do you call them? We call them clients.
Yeah. Mhm.
I also do some volunteer work at a food pantry and we call them customers.
Customers, yeah, yeah,
So I
yeah,
just have to be really careful.
yeah.
Some have fine motor skill issues. So even trying to manage a key would be super frustrating. So the key fob, at least if you get it in close proximity to the electronic device. The other thing that I worry about with the internal locks is at my son's Scylla, one of his roommates actually had a heart attack and died, and his bedroom door was locked. Now, in that particular situation, I don't know that, having quicker access would have made a difference. But boy, I'm thinking, privacy, safety, just something to think about. Maybe the push locks where you can use a coat hanger. I mean, it kind of defeats the purpose of, of the privacy. But to me, boy, when you start locking doors, I don't know what the safety implications would be for that.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have to allow it legally to comply with the federal regulation. And that's why we're trying to think of the best.
Well, that's why I'm saying that. Just I'm wondering what the best solution would be for the balance of confidentiality with safety.
And
how does it work? How does it work now, Lori? Like at David Scylla, is there one? I'm thinking totally internal. For the 4 bedrooms, is there one key that fits them all? Does the staff member have that key around their neck at all times? How does that work currently?
That's a good question. I'm not sure 100% to tell you the truth. But usually how it works is that the master key can open all doors, but each individual's keys can't open, can only open their door. Now, one of the things that fire marshal has said, is that they like that idea of push lock, because they want they don't want the person to be able to be like locked in, which is not the point at all, right? From the outside, with the key. But you still in a push lock, you still got to be able to get in if there is an emergency, right? So you got to have some way to do that. So what are people's thoughts about those like kind of keypads, where you can kind of like have a code, like a
Like you have on your
4-digit
garage
code.
door. Yeah.
And some people would not have the manual dexterity for that, but then it still kind of makes me worried that you would have to change it all the time because you could just tell the code to whoever, right?
Or remembering the code.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people could remember the code that, those little buttons are so, I can barely text.
They get fickle too.
Yeah. And you could, I don't know about you guys, but I struggle with text. I'm getting autocorrect every other word.
I did the slide thing on my,
yeah.
I can't get over the people that can do text like this with 2 fingers, and I can't, my thumbs are too fat and I can't do it.
So are the locks intended for when the clients leave for work or leave for, that they lock their doors behind them and then they need to be able to access them when they come back home?
Yeah, it is for that. It's, for, or if you, want to go in your room and lock your door and not have anybody open your door and come in, you, are allowed to have privacy, right? Like that when you choose, there are some places now, I don't think AID is really this way, but there are some places that like that door is never closed to a bedroom, right? Like it's literally open all the time. And so there is very little true privacy. And most places have shared bedrooms, with shared with another person. And so, we're really lucky at AID that we have for years been working at getting to the spot where we are at now. And I hope that we are able to remain here where we don't have any shared bedrooms and, which helps on the privacy. And we also don't require your bedroom door to be always open, but there are places that's the norm, right? That's what is expected. So this would be a real big change to them. I think for us, it's more, we've had people with keys for a long time, but not all people, right? And not all people have them and not all people have been afforded that opportunity. And so, we're working towards how we do this. I'm just really concerned with how we're going to pay for it. Because I agree that I think an electronic system, is much better in terms of safety and trained, because if a person loses their key or a person moves out of the Scylla or a person gives their key to someone else, there's nothing you can do about that really, right? You can't make the key magically appear, but you can turn off the really easily, like just on the computer program, the access so that you could swipe all day long and never get in once that access is.
Kind of like hotels.
Yeah. Yeah, but you can do it with the fobs. We have a couple of locations on the behavioral health side where we have entrance ways that way. This way, like the front door, and you can have your card in your back pocket and walk by the thing and it'll pop it. Like it's the whatever.
Sensitive.
Yeah, whatever is, so you don't have to slide it through anything, or the little fobs that you could have on a keychain or in your pocket, as well on your purse, wherever you wanted to carry it. Seems to me to be the best way if we can figure out how to pay for it.
Lori, where do parents and guardians who are really involved fit in here? Like I know lots of times I show up at my son's Scylla with my son and, a staff member is out with the other clients because they had to go dispense meds at a different house.
Yeah.
And it would be so cool if I could get in the house because it's David's home, if I could get in and wait the 20 minutes because I've communicated with the staff member. So where do parents and guardians fit into this picture?
I think that David would have his own key, right? So David could let you into his house, right?
Okay.
I mean, that's my thought. I don't think that it would be, because it is that fine line of it's a group of people's home. I don't think that we'd necessarily be handing out keys to every. Or fob to parents or guardian, but when you're with David, if he has his key to the front door.
Yeah, that would be a perfectly fine solution. Is
Right.
the agency looking at this being different for different homes? In other words, for the ISILs where there's real independence, might there be a different protocol than at a high
And
need
those
Scylla?
folks already have straight up keys and, just because they have a regular lease, they, have always had keys. So that kind of already exists for ISILA. But we have talked about what if there would make sense to have different ways, different means, depending upon people's ability at that Scylla to use different items, right? Whether that would be a punch. I think all of us agree that, we think a key fob or a card would be the best, but I'm not sure that we can financially swing that for every front door and every bedroom door, right? So there might be you know, hopefully maybe we could do it on the front doors and back, you know, front back doors, whatever, you know, the access points are. And then, you know, maybe have a different system for the bedrooms, depending upon people's manual dexterity and other abilities, you know. Like I said, we've had people with keys for a long time, but it's not all people, you know, and some of that has to do with people's ability to use a key, right? A traditional key, and how you know, make that easier with no money.
Well, I've had a question since my mother passed away. My mother had a key to Marywood. Always had a key. They always said she would always have a key. Well, my mother's not here anymore. I would love to have a key because I don't want to go in necessarily when all the girls are there. I would like to go in before they come home from workshop or something, so I could go and review her wardrobe, for example. When I'm there, she doesn't like me going through her things. And she's like, no, let's go. You're supposed to take me out to dinner or something, you know? And so I understand that she wants me to be there to entertain, but I do have an obligation to sit there and make sure her clothing is all, you know, she has enough and it's in the right condition or whatever.
Right.
And I just, you know, like I said, I've never brought it up because, well, COVID happened. It's like,
Right.
who can get in the house anyway? And I'm very fortunate. Kathy's very fortunate because she has the most wonderful house mother's the most wonderful house. But I feel like I am leaning too heavily on the house mothers to tell me if she has a need or something. I have a responsibility that I should be, you know, going through this stuff and making it easier for them and that kind of thing. So
we can, I can talk to staff about ways that you could do that. You know, I'm not gonna promise any family member at this point their own key, but we could talk about how we can make that work better. Definitely.
I'm hoping that things keep improving. There will never be normal like we used to know normal, but you know, I look at it that there should be some ways that, again, I don't have to be so dependent on the house mothers. They've got a huge job.
I understand. Yeah, I understand what you're asking for. Yeah, I will definitely follow up with Stephanie, the Vice President of Duty Services, and see what we can come up with.
Okay, thanks. That'd be great. Thank you.
Other thoughts about access before I go to my final thing?
Good luck. I just looked online to see what, just, you know, cursory look to see what's available as far as locks. Because in my imagination, I thought if there was a way to program the key fob so that you only have one, you know, one for the external and then one for the internal, but that it has its own. I don't even know if they make such a thing,
right?
Because now I'm imagining everybody with two key fobs.
Right. That's right. That's right.
I can't even get my son to change his underwear. I can't even imagine managing.
Right.
In the hotels, though, if you have your key for your room, it unlocks the external doors and then only unlocks your door.
Right, that's what I was thinking too. But if there's a way to do it electronically, for those people that have the manual dexterity issues, or you know, definitely the keypad for those people who have the ability to you know and remember numbers and have the fine motor coordination to press it. It's almost like it needs to be individualized. Almost,
and that's how we've been kind of thinking about it. So we'll see what we can come up with, but we will continue to you know, work towards this and hopefully be able to you know, get some good options, I hope. All right, I am sharing our schedule because next time we are supposed to have a social gathering on April 28th. And we had left in here, do we want to, the idea about whether we would try to do something in person or whether we would try to do a social gathering using virtual breakout rooms and kind of give each of us 15 minutes together or something, you know, and then come back to the middle. So I will stop sharing again just so that we can talk about what you think we want to do on April 28th.
Where would we have it in person?
That's it. That's the question too, right? If we're gonna do it, I mean, like we could do, we could do at our administrative office in Aurora, we could do it at our administrative office in Elgin, we could, there are options, right? I think we were thinking, and I'm trying to remember, I need to look at that list again, because we've got another one scheduled for August, right? Another social, and I know we were thinking in August of doing something picnicky or cooking out kind of thing, right? Where we could potentially, do it on one of our sites, like we have space here in Aurora that's outside, like we did with Wanda's going away party. Or we could go to a park too, right? We could do something in Central Kane to be more fair. I don't know what we might feel comfortable doing in April.
Where are we from? Where are we all located?
I'm the furthest one. I'm in Michigan.
Oh,
But I will come. Give me enough notice and tell me where to be. I will make my
you
arrangements.
are far, Michigan, wow.
Yeah.
What about other people?
I'm in
Cindy.
Batavia. I'm in Batavia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, honey?
Okay.
Colleen's in Plainfield. Amy, you're in Batavia, right? I don't know if she's still on.
Yes, sorry.
Yep.
I'm feeding a boy.
That's all right. I get it.
If she can come from Michigan, we can come from Batavia, right?
Right.
Colleen, you said Yorkville, right? Colleen, you said Yorkville?
No, my son's in Yorkville. I'm on the DuPage County line, but I mean, again, I will come. That's, I can make it. It's not a problem.
Jim,
What I'm wondering, Lori, is there a way how do we think about this April gathering as a kind of way to reset? It would be really nice to have a bigger group than 5 or 6 of us.
mm-hmm.
And so if we could get that word out really quickly to parents, and I think it has to involve food. And I guess my bias would be at one of the either the Aurora Center or the Elgin Center, because we own those, and we have space that we can easily work with.
We could all bring a dessert or something, if you can provide the coffee. or
Yep.
Some kind of a dessert or whatever you think would be good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that's fine with me. I mean, if we think that it would be like a good thing to, since we start at 7, assume that people would have had dinner and then just have dessert and coffee and water and tea and that, or do you want to make it half an hour earlier or something and say that we'll have some basic kind of meat and dinner-ish kind of.
August, we should do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. August, we should do a picnic.
Let's look at, since most of the people are from except for Jim and Carol are from the more southern part of our service area. Let's say the Aurora admin, because what we can do is we could have set up in our room that we use for a boardroom that has the big screen, so we could technically have a Zoom meeting going on at the same time and have those doors, open to the outside if we wanted to, you know, and coming in and out and mingle in that area if we wanted to.
What are we thinking of in terms of the format? Is this just a kind of meet and greet and get to know each other and, you know, who our family members are and our connection to AID? Is it more structured than that? I like the idea of it being in Aurora and involving dessert. I think that's, I like, Carol, your idea of bring your favorite dessert. So
Yeah.
It
But in
doesn't
terms of the
cost
format-
anything for AID. A little
Mhm.
coffee, but that's about it.
And I will make sure I make the coffee because they make it super strong here.
Uh-huh.
I can't drink it.
Well, how would we get the word out so that people would be enthused about coming?
Well, I think that we could do it a multitude of ways, right? We could do have it featured in one of our Friday focuses coming up. We could put it on the website. We could put it on our new Facebook page, and we could put it on our old Facebook page too, right? You know, our public Facebook page to try to you know, get that out. And then we could also, I don't know, you know, look at, I could, oh, you know what, if we did it, if we got a flyer together fast enough, I could get it in that mailing about the pharmacy so that they could get, because that'd be two for the price of one.
Yep, that's a good idea. And maybe you know, I don't know what Doug's schedule is like, but just an email blast to as many parents and guardians with a kind of save the date details to come.
Yeah.
And, you know, if that could go out tomorrow or Monday.
Yeah.
Because
I
we're
like
only a
that.
month
That's
away.
good. Yeah.
I like that.
What
Yeah.
about also if you're gonna have a flyer or something like that, or something in print, can you bring something to the Scylla houses and they can pass them out to parents as they come visit their kids or
Yeah.
pick their
Yes,
kids
Good
up?
idea.
Yep,
And today programs. Yeah.
yep,
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, that's
I like
good.
that.
yep. That's good.
Yes. I like that. Because I
Yeah.
was sitting there thinking about if the house parents knew certain information that, you know, like, for example, I have I have a video chat with my sister every Sunday afternoon, generally speaking. And because the house mother has to set it up for her, because my sister
Right.
can't do it. But you know, I'm always talking to the house mother. But if there was something they knew about that they could then share with me, you know, like, okay, did you know about this meeting? You know, that kind of thing. It'd be another way that it would remind people
Yeah,
that, you know, just, I mean, they're full of information anyway, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like all that. I got it all written down, so I'll
Yeah,
try
those
to,
are all good
I try to
ideas.
get with Doug tomorrow, you know, about these various
Mhm.
things that we want him to do, but and he can make a flyer for us and you know, so that we can get that in with those pharmacy mailings too, because I think that's a good way to effectively use the one stamp that we are using on each envelope, right? You know, so that'll be good.
I'm glad you brought that up, because the pharmacy alternative, I've had a difficulty this last year. I guess they were sending the bill for the things that weren't covered with Medicare or something to the house, the Scylla house, and they were like not getting it paid or whatever. And it was like all of a sudden, you know, the house mother sent it to me and I went, I could have done this, you know, but then you'll love this. So then I write to Pharmacy Alternative and I go, if you'd like to get paid, you better send the bill to me. Well, then they notified Wellness Care. Oh my, I'm sorry, you can't talk to us about it. And I went, yes, I can. So this last week I had to fill out all their forms, and I sent them a copy of my guardianship. So do you want to get paid? You better talk to me. You know, kind of thing. So one thing set off another trigger is what I'm
Right.
trying to get to.
Right, right.
But I mean, I understand they have to, yeah, HIPAA, all that. I get all that, but I'm just saying. But all these years, I went, what? I don't know how that was happening. So I don't know how I was getting paid.
Yeah, well, you know, we're all, I will just say, I'm trying to give all of us some grace, because all of us have a lot less people than we need, and are trying to do the best that we can do to make everything good for all of us. So but we have had some challenges with pharmacy alternatives over the years, and really tried to work with them a multitude of times, but I think they finally figured out this time, because we were interviewing a bunch of people that we were serious about changing. And so they started to improve a little bit, but I was like, well, it's a little too late for that, at this point. So
Whatever you guys find out is good with me, so.
all right, do we have anything else that we need to talk about? If not, we only have about
Actually, any news about when Raven is opening? Because my son is actually going to move to Girton when the slot opens there.
Yeah, that is all contingent upon hiring and training. And so that has been the holdup so far, is getting,
Right.
because Raven is a higher, is a more challenging, going to be a more challenging house,
Right.
the people that are willing to work with couple of those people, makes
Right.
it a challenge. But I have not, I know that the goal is before the end of the fiscal year.
Okay.
But I need to double check with Stephanie for sure. I haven't heard of a new updated date.
Right. Yeah, I hadn't heard as of a week ago. Now I know, like at Winterberry, there's like the staff get a premium. Is that the same? And that would be the same thing at Raven too. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we have what we call difficulty of care,
Right.
or DOC.
DOC. Okay. Right.
Is the additional amount of money per hour that people get in defined difficulty of care homes. So. Yeah.
And is that
Colleen,
the same as in the past, or did they get a bump too with the latest?
You know what? I can't remember what that amount is, but I can find out. I'll find out when their target opening date is and let you know.
Oh, okay. Super. And I forgot to tell you earlier, I had my Jeopardy audition last week, so fingers crossed, I will have some prize money to donate sometime in the next year. I don't know. I have to make it through one more round. This was just the Zoom audition, but
that's exciting.
oh yes, yes, it was. Yeah, it was supposed to happen last year, but the co-guardian was sick, and I missed it. So
Maybe you can become the new all-time champion.
Yeah, absolutely. Another Amy Schuler. Whatever.
Oh yes, Amy or Matt. Yeah. I know. So yeah, it's a bucket list thing for me. I've always wanted to do it. So
I'm too intimidated. I'm more the Wheel of Fortune kind of brain,
Could I just piggyback a little bit on what Colleen said about the difficulty of care? Does that go for the one-on-ones that would be hired for the Keeler Center, since they're having such difficulty hiring staff to bring clients back? Do they get?
I do believe that they get difficulty of care for one-on-one, but I have to double check to let you know. And in fact, if you guys are interested, I will, during our dessert in April, talk about like our different salary structure.
Great.
Because we have quite a few different types of what we call add-ons, to base pay, based on different skills that people have and or are required to use at their in their employment. And it's kind of a, it's a base one that's for the entire organization, but I could talk about that if you all are interested in that.
That would be great.
But we are doing better on the day side in terms of hiring people. Those numbers are going down. I mean, like we're getting more caught up on CDS than we are on Scylla. So hopefully those folks, that means that they're in process to train in that so that they can, then keep bringing back more people to all of our day locations.
That would be great. It's been a long time.
I know, I
Mhm.
know. I
Long
know it
time.
has.
So
I know it has. We've been really sad to not be able to be a better support to folks that, especially folks that, only have CDS as part of their support.
great. Yeah, it's been tough. So
Yeah.
that'd be great. Good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good
That's,
news, though. It's good news you're hiring some people. So
yeah, no, it is. It is. And towards the end of the year last year, we weren't even really getting any application. I mean, like there wasn't even really any applications coming in. So at least now there are a flow of applications. And so for every, 4 you get, one person might show up to interview, but that's still, better than getting no applications and no one shows up for an interview if you don't have any applications. So
well, it's a move in the right direction.
yeah, we're hoping that it will continue. We've also been working on a couple of statewide groups that are working on, longer term plans for increasing workforce. Been working on a group that is, Jim, you probably know about this. It's a state advisory committee on human and public service sectors, and they put together, like at the community college level, what coursework that you need to have in order to get living wage jobs in human and public service sector, or like they do them for all different kinds of sectors. And right now they're working on a human and public service sector. So it's been really interesting because I don't come from a community college background, but just trying to talk about what some of the needs are in terms of training and how they advertise some of these positions, because I've learned a lot about, the Department of Labor has specific job codes, right? And specific job names. And they don't have very good ones for public service. And so it really limits people's understanding of what is available within a specialty, right? To be able to do work with that degree or with that, job designation, right? So that's another area that people are looking at is, that way you can expand and you can go into high schools and junior highs where people are looking at what they want to do, when they get out of school, and have more understanding of, if I have a, associate's degree in human services, here's what I can do with that across a multitude of different kinds of things, right? And with a bachelor's, here's what I can do with a master, I had some earlier experience last year with the aging world is working on this same thing for workforce for, senior services. And they, I got interviewed about like what housing type related things you could do with a gerontology degree. Since I happen to have a master's degree in gerontology. Have done a lot in the housing world. So, I was able to help feed into that. So it's really, I think, exciting ways. I mean, it's long-term, but I think we have to do short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals. There's also a couple of proposed bills on the state level that are about ways to make it easier for people's debt, their college debt to be paid off when they work, because there's some federal programs, but they're pretty hard to access. So they're looking at like some state programs that could help, if people work in certain fields for a certain amount of time, getting some of their college debt paid off, or getting some tuition paid if they're going on to get more training. So there's a lot of good work, I think, going on. It's just going to be we just need to continually work on it. And the system has been so you know, these positions have been so underpaid that it's really hard to catch up. You know, and it always feels like we're like, you know, $1 behind, you know, Wendy's, because every time we raise and, you know, then they raise and they can raise the cost of what they're selling, right? But we can't because we get paid what we get paid. So, you know, I think we're moving in the right direction, and I'm hopeful most days.
I have a question just because I was in Illinois this last weekend and there was a commercial, a political ad. Are you getting paid on time by the state of Illinois?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Pretty
Totally
much.
different
That's
from
a
the
true
Rauner years.
commercial then.
Yeah,
Well, you know, throughout COVID, they have done really well. I will have to say, in getting us money and in getting us additional money, right? Percentages above what our rate were to try to keep us all going so we can keep everyone else going, right? You know, and so that's been pretty good. I have found that now it's starting to slow down a little bit, you know, because I think, you know, we're kind of coming out of it a little bit and they may be slipping into old habits, but we're still, you know, they've still been paying much better than it has been for many years before that, right? Under Rauner and other administrations before that, even, you know, that we're not that quick in paying. So,
Well, that's good news because I looked at that commercial and I went, well, a few years back, they were way behind and you were hurting for certain. So
I worked at the state for an entire year of travel and got paid like 3 months after that year was over with for travel as a state employee. So it was, they definitely would do it to everyone, right? But it is much better. I will have to say that is one of the things that I think that they have really emphasized and made a point of doing during the pandemic that has kept many not-for-profits afloat, right? Because we wouldn't have been able to do that during the pandemic with the increased costs if we hadn't been getting paid on time. Yeah. All right. Well,
actually, in terms of the workforce development, I did hear Allison Stark's presentation to the Ligas family group today. And one thing that she mentioned being interested in was trying to create these workforce development programs, specifically the DSP track in high schools and community colleges. Do you know of any institutions around here that you think would be interested in
so
it?
we started talking to Wabansi like before the pandemic about doing this, and then it just kind of got buried underneath the pandemic.
Yeah, right.
But we are definitely interested in doing a pilot project, and we'd actually like to talk to U46 here because that's the largest school district in the state outside of CPA. So or CPS, not CPA, yes, Chicago Public Schools. So we are looking at that. I do know that Clearbrook is doing a partnership, a pilot project of it, and there's legislation that is also they're working on it. I don't know that it's started yet, but they are working on a pilot project, and I know that there's some legislation that is also currently out there that is around that as well, you know, about how to do that. So our HR is reaching out to U46, and I need to check where they are on that, you know, to see what they would be interested in doing. But we just had a similar thing that happened on the behavioral health side for peer specialists, and the state just put out a grant that community colleges and colleges have for people with lived experience of mental health or homelessness or substance use, and it pays all tuition, all books, travel, childcare, and pays your internship. Gives you a paid internship for the required internship hours. Yeah. So, you know, hopefully, you know, we could do something along those lines. But yeah, we're moving towards that.
Uh-huh.
And I'm on that group. I'm on that GDS group that the
Oh, okay,
Community
good.
Advisory Council that is working,
Mhm.
subgroup that is working on these different ideas as well. So
Okay, where is the legislation? Is it still in committee or?
you know what? I have to go look and see. That's one of the ones I haven't kept on top of in the middle of everything. But I know that initially at the beginning of the year, we kind of send that around to all of our legislators to say that these were things that we were, you know, interested in supporting, but I'm not 100% where it's at. So I can look at those pieces of legislation and just email to you guys.
Yeah, yeah. Is that something that Michelle Mussman is sponsoring?
Michelle's got one of them. I think there's a couple
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I can.
of different ones, and I think Michelle has one as a sponsor, and I can't remember who the other. Maybe Laura Fine might have one.
Yeah, that sounds likely. Yeah, okay.
But I can send, I'll look at that and send you guys. some
Okay,
follow-up
oh, great,
information
yeah,
on those.
okay, sounds good.
All right, well, thanks everyone. Have a good night. Be thinking about your favorite dessert. I know I will be now all month waiting for our next meeting, and I'll work with Doug and folks around here to start getting some of this info out so that we can hopefully get some more people to come and hang out with us.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, thanks you guys.
All right,
Okay, thank you. Good
everybody.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
You too.
Thank